Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another episode, if not now, when? And today, oh my God, I'm so excited to welcome today's special guest, Bobby Tang. And let me tell you a little bit about Bobby. First of all, he is engineer by training, yet commercial and product leader by passion. He is a Silicon Valley alumni working with so many tech giants that we all know and love, like Apple, Amazon, Intel, and just name a few. He also traveled all around the world, with US, Europe, Australia, India, and China. Wow. In addition, wow, one thing that you did not know about Bobby by looking at him, such a wonderful guy, he also is an actor featured in a commercial such as Dove for Men or Chelsea Football Club. Who would have thought? Wow. He also sing a song on the stage with Taylor Swift. Oh my goodness, I would never imagine that. So today, Bobby, he is a co-founder and chief product officer at Mana, a tech startup with a passion to really create a world where everybody can make a living by share their passion. With that, everybody, I am so excited. Thank you so much, Bobby, for joining us, and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Wen. I'm very excited to be here.
Amazing. So, Bobby, tell us, how does all this magic get started?
I think a part of it is sheer coincidence and luck, and probably layered on with a lot of hard work along the way as well. So, just to give some context, for me, I'm a first-generation immigrant. Family moved to America when I was very young, gave up a relatively good lifestyle in China. We weren't extremely wealthy, but we definitely were doing very well for ourselves. But when you pick up and move to another country, essentially you give up everything that you have in that country, and even immigration costs are very expensive. So imagine pouring your life savings into, moving to America to pursue a better life, if not for yourself, but for, your future generations to come. So that's how I got, I guess you could say, established in America. I would call myself, or affiliate myself more truly as a American, not only by, I guess, citizenship, but more so by just culture, by the ideals that I hold in life as well. And this might be years and years of growing up and living in America, but taking the opportunities that you're given in life and making the most out of it, as well as taking the challenges that you're given in life and making the most out of it. So for me, grew up in a very humble life, as you could say, very working class. I got started, I guess you could say, in the business world when I got a pack of Pokemon cards for a gift. And, I realized, I think I was about maybe age 6 or 7, that there is an arbitrage opportunity. Obviously, it wasn't called that in my, childish mind, but there was an opportunity there where if I manage to resell cards that I get out of a pack, I can not only make a profit, but I can multiply the cards from it. So it's the old parable of taking talents and turning 1 into 10. Essentially, I didn't know about it at the time, but that's essentially what I was trying to do. Is I was trying to turn a pack of cards into multiples. It was around the time that eBay was kind of getting new and off the ground. I really experiment with just selling local cards locally at the shops, and doing that, and then around a few years later, this new trend called Yu-Gi-Oh came out, and that essentially exploded this trading card scene. So I realized there's a really big market in buying and selling collectible cards, more so than ever before. It used to be baseball cards or basketball cards, but this was the original NFT, if you will, that I was playing with. And so, as a kid, I was maybe making $100 a month, which, at that time, in current day time, it's not much at all. It's less than a day's earnings for some people. And at that time, it was a lot for a kid.
Mhm.
I was doing that essentially for my video game money, for my spare cash, and just trying to build up what I can. I had a paper ledger of how much I was taking in and putting out as well. I think that was kind of the initial exposure into the business world for me, was taking a little tiny seed and trying to turn that into something a lot bigger. I can't say I became a millionaire because of it, but it was able to teach me some good lessons about what supply and demand looks like, what true value of something looks like, and even negotiation skills when you're trying to trade something, trade it up, if you will.
Wow, in such a young age, you have such an entrepreneurial mindset. That's incredible, Bobby. And I'm curious,
Yeah,
how did that experience kind of influence who you are today? That sounds so much fun, but yeah, really is something that really beginning of your entrepreneurial journey, right?
yeah. I think throughout that time frame, I I kept finding good things to buy and resell. And so there were even things like gift cards. I realized I could make a 10% profit on these gift cards that weren't sold elsewhere around the world. I was doing this all throughout high school. I would buy the gift cards locally, mail them, and even net fees. I could rake in, let's say, $10 per gift card, per $50 gift card. So I just slowly racked up profit from there. But this helped transition me into a couple avenues. So I'll go a little bit deeper into this child acting thing. It's something that I was doing completely isolated at the time. But what this meant was, it meant I still didn't have anything good on my resume. I couldn't get a job anywhere. So right out of high school, no one would hire me. I was trying to apply for every retail shop out there. This included things like GameStop or the local movie theater, Sears, Kohl's. I went to the shopping center and applied at every single store, and no one would hire me out of high school. I thought on paper at least I was going to be somewhat hireable. I had pretty decent grades for a high schooler, pretty okay resume. But no one would take a chance. And so I found a job through a flyer that was left on my car after watching a movie. And so this flyer said part-time work for students, pays, I think it was like $16.50 an hour, roughly, minimum wage. And so I went into this office, I interviewed, I got the job, and then someone told me, hey, I think this job looks a bit sketchy. And so I looked online for this job, what people were saying about this job, and I was like, you know what? People are saying a lot of things about it, but I have no other choice. Let's just give it a shot. And so what the context of this job is, you have to sell knives, so like Cutco cutlery. And throughout college, I think for most Americans, they'll know someone who's sold Cutco cutlery before. And I was like, selling knives, I've never done anything like this. I've never heard of anything like this before, right? So it was more or less a direct sales role. You get your own leads, you pitch, they help you pitch, they equip you with skills. I was pretty bad at it. I knew how to hustle in a sense that I could find market opportunities and find where I can make profit, but I wasn't very good at pitching. I had no interpersonal skills at all. So it was a very tough job for me. I had friends who, they came from a lot wealthier networks, I guess you could say. So I grew up in a very Mormon town, and all the sales reps who were Mormon got so many sales. They made like $1,000 a day sometimes, just selling products. And for me, I would be lucky to even make 100 a day, if not 50 a day. And so I was absolutely terrible at it. But what I learned from that was, hey, this is a craft, and if I'm gonna, actually spend my time doing this, I can't keep, making less than minimum wage sometimes, just trying to, make a sale. So, my first summer doing it, I probably, raked in maybe $1,000 or $2,000 net, which wasn't great going into college where your tuition is about $25,000 a year. So I really took that experience, and I thought, hey, it's something that is not really what I'm really good at, but there is something here that I can learn from it. So segue into my first summer between freshman year and sophomore year. I thought, hey, maybe I'll find another job. I have this cool knife job I can put on my CV. No one hired me again. I had friends in my consulting club who were getting, internships at Deloitte and all these big name companies. No one wanted to take a chance on this guy who only has child acting and a knife selling job on his resume, despite having, a pretty good university on his resume and everything else. But no one would take a chance. So I was like, okay, I'll go back to selling knives. My first week going back and selling knives that summer, I was terrible. I made 0 sales in my first 2 weeks. And what that means is essentially I probably made $200 from just like base level commission, or not even commission, just base level pay. Because I didn't cover gas or anything. And I was like, oh, great. It's going to be a very rough summer. My spending money is, essentially what I got in scholarships, or whatever is left of that. And so I really took that terrible experience and really want to dig deep into, okay, why is this happening? And someone, I think, just through passing was like, hey, I listened to some great talks while I go to my sales calls, and it helps prepare me for those, essentially those sales calls or those client meetings. And so I realized, oh, wow, there's a big library of all these talks and people just, sharing their experience, how they pitch a lot better. And so I got on the road again. I started playing things from my iPod at the time because, that was the technology at the time. So played through one of these talks and I realized, oh, there's some decent stuff in here. Let's try it out in my next sales meeting. And right then and there, they bought something. It wasn't big. It was like maybe an order that led to, I'd say like $100 worth of commission, which was more than I was making before. And then I realized, okay, maybe I can keep this going. Maybe there's something that I can actually learn from this. So it snowballed very quickly, where I was just cramming in all these different talks, and then started researching, hey, how do you actually do a proper sales pitch, especially with the products? And I realized then and there it was, before my flaw was I was reading off a script. I was just treating it as like a job. And then what I realized was this is a real craft that you need to get good at. You're not simply just there to speak something verbatim. You actually need to show expertise in the product that you're talking about. You need to use the product, understand it, and understand why people would want it beyond just you reading off the script. And that summer, I broke the summer record for sales. So I'm skipping maybe like 2 months in advance. And what was essentially maybe a $1,000 a month commission if I was lucky, quickly escalated to $10,000 a month plus. And what it took was a lot of hard work. I was probably working about 80 hours a week because I was constantly on the road visiting clients, from all over Southern California. So I was driving from appointment to appointment. Sometimes it'd take an hour or two just to drive to appointment. But, if you invest that time and you get a $2,000 check out of it because you made a big sale, that's when it becomes worthwhile. And my closing ratio went from like 5% up to 95%.
Wow.
So, and that all took essentially away. It took me, putting in the hard work, understanding the product in and out, understanding what was flawed with how I was doing things. So being very self-critical about, okay, how could I have approached this better? And it took a lot of different delivery methods. So I realized instead of me trying to sell the product, I can get other customers who own the product to write testimonials. So it's these best known methods that were in industry that aren't really standard template as a new sales rep that I learned, that I realized, okay, if I apply that to what I do, and if I develop my own methods based on, the best practice that I've seen so far, it becomes really my own formula to almost always sell each appointment. And so that quickly became essentially how I paid off for my entire college tuition.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, I think the learning experience is going into something like this with any job, you could say there's always naysayers who say, hey, this is not for everyone. Sales is this terrible thing. No one's going to buy anything. What I quickly realized is, it's all mental. It's all attitude. You're selling something that's a best-in-class product. And as long as you have product conviction, that essentially helps determine if you're going to sell anything or not. And what I realized through that is, it's not just mental, but you have to have conviction in what you're doing, true belief in what you're doing. And then the rest is really easy. If if you know you're, selling a quality thing, if you're, convincing something that, hey, this is actually something that's going to be good for you, rather than reading off a script, if you truly believe it, if you know everything about the product that makes it good, that's what comes in hand. And then finally, being able to deal with rejection has been something that has really helped mold me into who I am today. So imagine someone who's rejected 95% of the time, right? I'm so used to getting no's now. So, for example, when I talk to VCs and they say, "Oh no, we'll pass," like it doesn't hit me emotionally anymore, because if you have full conviction of what you're doing, and the product that you are building, it becomes a different mentality. And I believe there's probably 5 to 10% of the population who are always going to say no to whatever you say. You might have the best logical or emotional pitch, but there's always going to be people that say no. But if you get one no, that means the next 19 are going to be yeses. And that's how I kind of approached it from, when I was at the peak of my sales game was, hey, if someone says no, I'm like, great, I can move on. I can, move to my next 19 yeses. And that's really carried forth, whether it be through, my poor dating track record, or poor, job application record of, getting so many rejections. All it takes is, that one yes to make all the difference. So what does this lead to? Yeah, it helped me pay off college very healthily. I was able to afford to study abroad, get a car. I should have just put it all into like Bitcoin that time or something. I'd be filthy rich right now. But, so the saying goes, hindsight's 2020. So for me, what this meant was, okay, now I'm applying for jobs. I have a much better CV. I can say, hey, I took a really crummy job situation and I turned it into a very fruitful, job experience, income driver, whatever you want to call it. So with all this, an engineering and economics background. So I walk up to the recruiter at the job fair. It's an engineering job fair. And I walk up to the Intel recruiter. And I go in there with so much confidence about myself, much different than before. And I'd say, hey, I'm X, Y, and Z. I'm an engineer, but I have a sales background, and I'm really passionate about business things. But I really just want to work in tech. We're studying semiconductors right now, and this really interests me. So she could tell right away that it was a lot different of a pitch than your typical, I guess, engineering candidate. Right. Mm-hmm. And they took a chance on me. I landed a position at Intel. I spent 2 different summers with them. One when I was still going to uni as well. And, really was able to, put my full effort into my time there and, met some really great people that I still keep in touch with these days. And that role, expanded into a full-time position after university as well. Got to work with some really cool people on the Dell team. So it was around the time that Dell went from a public company to a private company. So really cool business transitions that I was helping them with. So around that time was when Apple was kind of just really hitting the scene. It was right after Steve Jobs died, and it was kind of like a transitional period. And I was really passionate about the product. And so for me, I was like, okay, how do I get a job there? It's cool that I'm working at this company that took a chance on me, really great people, really one of the, you could say, the forefathers of the tech industry because, without semiconductors and what Intel has done, tech as we know would not be the way it is. And but I really wanted to work closer with consumer products. So I did the thing of apply. I applied to a lot of different roles at Apple. Most wouldn't even bother responding or taking a chance on me. But that really didn't discourage me. I even had a negative experience once when I was in university when one of the recruiters just completely blew me off when I talked to her. And I was like, man, I really don't want to work with this recruiter or talk to her at all. But one hiring manager took a chance on my CV or my resume, and they brought me in for an interview. Long story short, because I knew the products in and out, like I mentioned earlier, when I really get into weeds of something, I really, get obsessed about the details. So I knew the entire lineup in and out. I, could basically speak to all the trends that I expect were happening in the Mac and iPad space. And so they took me in, they gave me a role and took a chance on me. So,
Wow.
yeah, so the journey there, wasn't so simple as simply getting an engineering degree, and that means I get a job in Silicon Valley.
Mhm.
It really, I think, if I never took the knife selling job, I probably wouldn't get to where I am today. I'd probably be working at some, I don't know, small, uh, you know, tech company. I'm trying to see which tech company I can mention, but I don't want to offend. Some random semiconductor company that no one's ever heard of or something. That's probably where I'd be
Mhm.
stuck at right now. But
Mhm.
um, yeah, it's all taking the hand that was dealt at
Mhm.
that time and trying to make the best out of it. And life always doesn't come easy. For some people, it comes very easy. The
Mhm.
opportunities are just given to them because of
Mhm.
birthright or something. But
Mhm.
I mean, this is what embodies America, right? It's the fact that,
Mhm.
hey, even if you come with no, you know,
Mhm.
um, background, no class or anything, if you work your butt off, you can get yourself to, you know, the stage that you're at. It's not going to be easy, and it's not like a thing that you don't have to work for. You really have to hustle for it. So,
Mhm.
when I see people complain, oh, I'm working 30 hours a week. How come I'm not getting to, where I want to be? Contrast that with the experience I had where essentially I had to sleep in my car because I was so tired, working tirelessly just to, make it to my next sales appointment. That's the kind of hustle that I think I
Mhm.
expect someone to want to put in if they
Mhm.
do want to achieve this American dream, right? Or
Mhm.
even to just,
Mhm.
make their situation better. No, it's this grit and hustle that I really respect
Mhm.
when I meet someone, in that kind of situation.
I really appreciate, Bobby, what you just shared because really on the surface or just looking at your resume, you're like, oh my God, this person is perfect. He probably so lucky, get a job, boom, 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 boom. And just like so fluid, so natural. But yeah, knowing the story behind it, seeing, knowing how many no's you have to take to get a yes from that mindset, from the mentality, and really knowing what you want and go after it until you get a yes. And I think that is a true story behind that. You touched on this before. You talk about 5% of people say no regardless. So in your mind, almost like the 1% say no, you're gonna have 19 yes on the way, right? Were you always in that mindset, or in the beginning of the nice selling process, was it hard to get, or just hard to digest those no's?
So for me, my first few sales appointments were with people I already knew. So this would be like family,
Mm-hmm.
friends of friends' families, and so on and so forth. So it'd be like my best friend's mom. It would be like,
Mm-hmm.
my kind of friend's mom or dad. And so I got rejection from people that, I thought would support me no matter what, right? So I was like, surely these people buy something, right? I mean, they love me, maybe. And so, getting rejections from them at the beginning was very challenging because, you almost take it personally.
Yes.
But looking at it reflectively, I probably just wasn't doing a good job. I didn't. Oh, maybe I was trying to sell them too much on, why they should buy from me rather than, buy the product itself, what the product can do for them. And now I look at it reflectively, the more rational thing is thinking, how does this actually bring value to someone? If someone's doing the back of napkin back of napkin calculation of thinking, okay, if this costs me $1,000, how many times am I gonna buy in my lifetime? What's the ROI of that?
Mm.
Then that makes a quick rational thought of, okay, it's actually really worth it to buy this product. But if I try to sell as, hey, this is the best in class and you get to buy it from me, that doesn't always, sell as a compelling argument for some people, right? Some people have
Mhm.
what Oren Klaff calls alligator brain, where they get more sold on emotions. Some people have more the logical brain, where they want the numbers to work out, right? And some people
Mhm.
simply just think it's too expensive, and it's because they never bought a luxury good or an essential good that was formed before. So back to your question about what was the hardest thing was getting rejection from people that you thought would definitely support you. I think that's very hard. There's an old saying, like, I think it was like, a prophet can never preach in their own town or something.
Mhm.
And it's kind of like that, where you know these people, so you take the rejections even harder.
Mhm.
And whereas you get rejections from people you don't know, it feels a lot easier. Right? You're like, oh, it's fine. But looking at it in everyday life, if someone gets rejected, let's say, I don't know how the dating scene works nowadays, but let's say, they're at a bar, they talk to a stranger and they get rejected. Would they take it more personally or less personally than if it was someone that they actually knew, right? And it's kind of thing, no matter how many no's you get, all it takes is one yes to completely change the mindset. And I think the hardest part is getting your first yes. It's similar to when you're fundraising as an entrepreneur. All it takes is one, investor to take a chance on you to completely change the game. And for some people, it's just getting to that point that's the hardest. And it's a matter of meeting the right people who can see the value in either you, the company, your product, and so on and so forth. That makes all the difference. There's also a thing of fear of missing out. The way I also saw it was, if someone rejected me for anything, how I framed it then in my mind, this is when I actually got good at sales, was, they're just missing out. And this is something that, they're going to have to live with, is, someone who, for example, missed out on buying Apple when it was like $10. This is, how I was treating it, as like, hey, it's their fault. And then they're going to look back, they're going to live a life unfulfilled or unenriched. And, it's their fault. I mean, not mine. I try to do my best to, change their mind. But yeah, so that's how I would frame it, is in terms of handling rejection, is, as long as you're doing something that you know and you wholeheartedly believe will make their life better, if they turn you down, I mean, that's their fault, really. And it's not on you for them, wanting to live a mediocre life with whatever product they're using.
Well, if you put it that way, that makes so much sense. So now I want to pivot our conversation, right? So now in this point of life, you master the sales, and you go, from one Intel to Apple, your dream businesses. And at this point, Bobby, is this everything you ever wanted it? Or deep down, do you always know you want to be an entrepreneur like you were?
It's one of those things where, once you're in the headquarters, you're like, oh, I made it. This is the biggest company in the world, the most innovative, the most valuable brand. The logo that you proudly wear on your T-shirt company. I think it's great if you want the security and you want to work on something that you are proud of. Even to this day, I still use exclusively Apple products. Just like I exclusively use those knives that I was selling, because I have product conviction, right? I wouldn't stay around for all that time, all those hours I put into Apple, if I didn't truly believe in the products.
You still use the knife that you sell like back in college?
Yeah. So for context, these knives, I don't want to go into a big knife spiel, but essentially they're guaranteed for forever, which means if you ever need sharpening, they just sharpen for free. If you break anything, they just replace it. And so I have an entire 24-piece set. Half of it I won through different sales contests. And the other half I just bought extra because I really like the products. I give it away as wedding gifts as well when I meet people, or not meet people, but when I when I go to weddings, this is what I give to people, because I'm like, you're either gonna get crap that you're gonna throw away after a year, or you're gonna have this gift that you're gonna be like, oh yeah, that was the thing that Bobby gave me. So
wow.
Yeah. So sorry, where were we? Apple knives. So yeah, I when I dive deep into something and fully commit to it, I have to really believe in the product and what the product is doing. That also impacts your life fulfillment. In terms of how I wanted to go into doing my own thing. Part of the comfort is it's very nice. You have great healthcare. The Apple Medical Center is world class and amazing. It was right across the street from the office I was sitting in. So if I needed any healthcare, it was right there. But going back to where I was at a young age, where I took business. I created little tiny mini businesses, right? And I found something exciting. And what I really enjoyed about those type of roles or those type of passions was I get to see the direct output of what I'm doing. and you see the direct impact. No matter how much or how senior I could get at Apple, you're still part of a much bigger effort, right? And so I can't say, hey, I grew the market cap by 1.5 trillion. That would be pretty audacious. You're at the end of the day, like each employee is a small contribution to the larger effort. And what I really enjoy is being able to see, hey, if I did something, is that going to result in a positive or negative, result? And when I was working in sales, you can see that right away. If I did a bad delivery, I wouldn't get a sale. If I did a pretty good one, or a decent one at least, I could see the direct results coming into my bank, right? And so I found that quite exciting because I like to be reflective and evaluate how I'm doing myself. And so that's kind of the itch that was always there in the back of my mind. I think the way I mapped out was I would get into a position of financial stability so that I can take a risk and go into the startup space. And after, I can't remember how long, but essentially I left Apple at the time when the stock was kind of at the peak for that time period. I also left Amazon around the time of the peak of that stock for that time period, and the COVID hit. That completely changed the entire landscape of stock valuation. But for me, I think I got to the point where I thought, hey, if I take a risk now, it's a low risk to take as well, because I did set a good buffer for myself, and I wanted to be able to have that freedom to not worry about putting food on the table before I take a chance. Some people do this a lot earlier. Some people do it straight out of college, and they might be in a much further ahead situation. I essentially hedge my risk a bit by having essentially this one thing about working in a big company is you have this floor you can always set for yourself. So if you did want to go back to the corporate life, you can always go back. And the second part is establishing a bit of credibility. So what I've noticed is you can be a random founder from I don't know, a European country with nothing behind you, and it's a lot harder to back a founder like that versus if you do come from some pretty big household names. It establishes that sense of security in the person that you're backing as well. And so I think this is not like a decision that's like the perfect guide to get into the startup space at all. Some people just take the risk and they do very well straight out of university, building something straight out of university. And some people take more of a hedge risk, like me, and some people never take the risk and they just like my friends who still work at Apple and Amazon, they're just living off the golden handcuffs of a very lucrative stock plan. So yeah, I would say that's kind of what pushed me into the startup space. It's the excitement of working on something at a very early stage, and then being able to work on something that I think I align with, that I believe in, that I think could make a big difference, is what excites me.
So now tell us, now you transition from this golden handcuff to a startup scene. Is this everything you ever imagined, or how does that transition be for you?
It has ups and downs. Not right now. Right now, it's actually been really good. But I'll give you some anecdotes from my prior experience. So one startup was it was an AI startup. It was pretty bad, I would say, and it was like one of the first startups to join. And then one of the other startups I joined got hit by COVID, and sadly, I really enjoyed working in the team, but it just got wiped out by COVID. And then another startup that I was in, the biggest challenge was, I think we were too early or too late for funding. And so it was a matter of like, okay, we already built the product out, but now people want to see, hey, are you in the millions of traction and whatnot? So it was like a chicken and egg situation where, sometimes for people it's easier to raise when you already raise a product, but it's more of a timing issue. But what I really love throughout all this, and this really resonates well right now, is no day is the same. And what that means is, for example, in corporate life, you have weekly deliverables, monthly deliverables, quarterlies, annuals, and you're spending time just essentially going through a lot of cyclical things. The products you work on are going to differ. The features you work on are going to differ, and the things you're negotiating with, let's say, vendors or whatnot, are going to be different. But at the end of the day, it's still very, I think your first time around, it's quite exciting. It's fresh, it's new, but a year in, you slowly realize this is exactly what we were doing like a year ago. We just changed some numbers here and there, but it becomes very monotonous in a way. And there is an argument for having this structure. It's so everyone can align on how to see business performance and whatnot. But what it means is, I think you spend more time doing the reporting rather than dealing with new challenges. I think for consulting, for consultants, what they get is a different client, different projects to work on, so it's a lot fresher. Whereas in the corporate world, you're working on very big impact things, but it also comes with its vanilla type of flavoring as well. And so what this looks like, in on a monthly basis would be, doing your reports that you always have to do, but still trying to manage all the new projects that you have to do. In a startup, because you don't have weekly reports or monthly reports, it's really figuring out, okay, how do I move as fast as possible? Oh, I need to jump on this new contract I'm writing, or we need to negotiate something with a new partner. How do we make a business case for this? We got to pitch to investors. We got to figure out what we're pitching. What are the new wireframes we have for features? So it's constantly different every single day, and our challenges are very different. So I think I have to play many hats. Officially, I developed a product, but I'd say I also wear on a day-to-day basis. My co-founder and I will split like HR, CFO duties, operations. I'll go in and debug because there's someone that has to do that. I had to teach myself JavaScript in the past 3 months just to basically help out with the engineering side. So there's a lot of different new challenges constantly happening. So what it means is, if you're like me and you get bored easily, you never get bored, because no day is ever the same. We're constantly evolving. We're bringing on new team members. We're dealing with new challenges every single day. And I think this kind of thing you don't really get even in a new organization within the big company. So, to some people, this is actually really, I guess you could say, challenging and, disheartening, because it means they don't know what to expect around the corner. Mm-hmm. For me, I actually like the fact that I can't just anticipate, something that's a quarter out. Because something's going to change. We're going to get new, features or product feedback, and it's going to change how we develop our next month ahead. And I think that part is very exciting, because you're not just playing the same movie over and over again. You're actually just, dealing with a completely different genre subject every single day, every single hour. Something might just change frantically. But I think there's it's a lot more enjoyable for someone who likes ambiguity.
It seems like, Bobby, you're so passionate about it, and this is perfect, right in your alley. I'm really excited for you. So now, tell us a little bit about Mana, about what you are building. It's been 4 months. It's been really exciting journey, right? What are you building today, and what are you hoping to accomplish in the future?
Yeah, so we just rolled out our beta about 2 or so weeks ago. So right now we've hand-selected about 400 creators to come on the platform. And these are people from very cool backgrounds. We have, MD of YouTube, VP at all the big tech companies, people from Bain, McKinsey, BCG, so on and so forth. So it's like a who's who of everyone from tech, finance, consulting, law. And what we're trying to create is a place for these people to, be, reachable resources. So if you want to learn, let's say, how to break into consulting from some of these people, you can. If some of them are teaching things on, how to do, how to build a better resume, giving career advice or marriage coaching. They're not just simply pigeonholed into doing what their resume says about them. What we quickly realize is a lot of people on the platform are what we call multi-hyphenates. And this means, hey, I am a MD at a consulting firm, but I also am passionate about teaching people how to train dogs. And so what we realized quickly is, we have people from really highly credentialed backgrounds. These are very unlikely to be spammers because of just how high profile they are, but they generally want to give back and share their skills with other people. But they also have something that they're passionate about that they haven't had the opportunity to share anywhere else. You can't go on LinkedIn and say, hey, I want to train dogs. Come to me for dog advice. I think, all we see on LinkedIn nowadays are recruiter fairy tales about someone arriving late and then they give them a chance. Like that's literally what my LinkedIn feed now is all days. Or they're reposting someone else's feel good story in order to get likes. So I have my own thoughts about how LinkedIn is not a great place for this. But so in terms of where we are now, people can come on the platform. They can see who's on the platform, book one-to-one sessions with them. We're launching a couple new features in this next couple weeks as well. So those will be rolled out slowly to our beta users. It's an invite-only beta, which means creators get fully vetted before they come on board. That way we don't get into trouble of having a bunch of spammers like you see if you log on to, let's say, Clubhouse, and you go on and it's like people just self-promoting and talking about how to get rich quick. That's kind of the platform that we want to avoid being. We really want to be a place where you get legitimate knowledge sharing, where you can kind of trust everyone that you're learning from, no matter what walks of life they are from. And so if it is, let's say, an ex-banker who has become a full-time magician, it's a lot better than just someone that's just trying to do a quick clickbait of how to do a card trick on YouTube. And if you wanted to learn from this person because you simply are invested in their life story, you can as well. So that's where we're on in the product. We will be launching a lot of other cool features that I won't go too deep into yet. I like the Apple surprise and delight factor, and I hope to keep that in our DNA as well. But that's kind of where we're going. So right now, 2 weeks in, I got our closed beta. We've had a couple of paid bookings as well. So people are paying to book one-to-one sessions with some creators. And there's a lot more to come.
Well, congratulations, Bobby. A lot of hard work. And I see how, your guys' vision truly coming to fruition. That's really, 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 oh my God, amazing. So congrats. Bobby, as you're speaking, I'm thinking about, the short 20 or so minutes you shared about your life journey. I'm thinking about how there are so many no's. There's so many quote unquote could be perceived as a failure, whether it's when you sell a knife or when you transition from corporate to a startup. Sounds like Mana is not your first startup, right? One is not doing well because COVID, so on and so forth. How do you always keep such an optimist? And how do you never let the failure kind of define who you are internally, at least? How do you get over that?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think it has gotten a lot easier because of my sales experience. It used to hit me a lot harder. So for context, I was absolutely terrible when it came to just talking to girls, for example, in high school. I didn't have a girlfriend until I was, I think, 19, 20. And so, I was absolutely terrible because, it hit me so emotionally to get rejection. But I think working in sales has, I don't want to say toughened my skin, but, built more self-confidence. And so what that means is, if you truly believe in something that, you're building, that you're working on, it doesn't really matter what other people think of it. And that's something that I really had to own and, hold true to myself throughout this journey, and I'll go a little bit deeper into that. What that means is, through all these failures, what I really want out of this experience is to work on something that I, in 50 years time won't look back on and think, oh, I just wasted my time. And I think that's the hardest part to get right is knowing, did I invest my time appropriately when I was alive? So, I'm getting really deep now, but when you're, let's say, 80 years old, 90 years old, and you look back at, time you spent at a big tech company or at a startup, was that time wisely invested? I think that's the key thing that in terms of having FOMO in life, to neglect FOMO is to make sure, yes, I got a rejection or failure, but did that lead me to learn something throughout that experience? Was that the right experience to actually get me to, where I ended up being? And so was it a worthwhile investment at the end of the day? And so, I think that's how I kind of bridged the gap of failure, is seeing how it fits into the big picture. Does your failure offer you the learnings that you need so that you can become a much, not stronger person out of it, but you actually know, how to handle these situations in the future. I'll give an analogy to stock trading. Some people say the more money you lose, the more you get educated on how the market works. Hopefully that's true for some people. Hopefully, it works out. But it's those things is if you learn from losing, then you're paying for education, if you will. And so, I learned from the rejection. I learned from failure, and through that experience, I figured out, okay, this is how I overcome it in the next obstacle that comes ahead. And what it also teaches me is if I face something that I haven't faced before, how to use my prior experience to better handle those hurdles that come up. So I think through failure, it teaches you how to manage situations that you haven't seen before or similar situations that come up. It's almost a requirement to do well. If a successful entrepreneur says, I got here by sheer luck, I think that's way more rare than someone who has failed tremendously to get to where they are. I think social media and all these platforms really glorify the success stories. But what's really buried sometimes underneath is all the failures that were required to get to that point. I think sometimes there are social constructs that don't allow for failure. So, in some countries, you fail and there's no way to get back up, right? But going back to what we discussed at the beginning, what it means to kind of be American, it's the idea that you can fail, but you can also have the ability to bootstrap yourself back up, as long as you have the mentality and motivation to do so, and the grit to overcome what life has dealt you.
Back to what you were saying earlier about if you were 80 years old looking back to see whether your time has been well spent. Now I'm asking you, Bobby, if you were 80 years old, what do you want to accomplish? What do you like to, looking back, what kind of world you want to create and what kind of impact will you be proud to say you're part of it?
This is kind of like a personal connection too, but just, looking back in my life, there are some key moments and key people that I interacted with that really shaped who I am today. And so for one example, it would be my English teacher in high school. When all the counselors would tell me, you're probably not fit for going to good university. You're probably better off doing like a local college or something, or community college. This English teacher really took a bet on me, and she really put in the effort to develop me. That I think was a very needed factor to give me the drive to actually, pass. I think I passed like so between 11 or 13 AP exams because I just basically put in the extra effort that someone normally wouldn't put that effort into, because I realized, hey, this person's believing in me. They're telling me I can do it, and I'm going to work my butt off to get to that point. But what that means is not everyone has the opportunity to have these type of influential moments in their life, right? What if we can expand that, make that a possibility in the world? And so, what if someone who is in a small town who has no resource to inspirational people just, is able to access this wide network of people that, really want to give back, inspire young people, give them like exactly what they need to know or what they need to hear in order to push themselves up and prop themselves up. And that's what I think will really make the difference. It's sometimes a very undervalued trait is just one simple sentence that someone can say in a fleeting moment to someone else that changed their life. What I want to create is like a lot more of those moments, because sometimes a young person has a very pivotal moment in their life, and all they need to hear is the right thing from one other individual to completely change the direction of their life. And for me, if I create something that allows a lot more of those opportunities to occur, I think then I've made that positive impact. Right. And the second part is allowing people to pursue something that they're actually passionate about. So now this is going back to, who I am. So I've done a lot of random things, whether it be sales, managing a portfolio, or acting. What I don't enjoy doing is the same thing over and over again. I think that contradicts who I am as a person. And so, having, building something that allows other people to have my experience of being able to pursue passions while still, affording everyday life things. I think that's something that I think will be, really empowering. And then for some people, it'd be, hey, they are struggling in their full-time job, but they also have no means to pursue their passions because there's no way to pay for things. So for example, if someone is making minimum wage, but there's no platform unless they buy followers to, make a living on YouTube to share, their music skills, there's basically no way to, one, for them to pursue that passion, and two, for the world to see what they're working on. And so looking back at this phase of my life, if I get to build something that allows people to meet those inspirational people that change their lives, but also pursue the passions that, all the gifts that they were given, and be able to share that with the world. I think, that's a really cool tick box in my mind. To be able to do that is to basically uplift someone who, might be in the trenches, who don't have other ways to, break out of their traditional mold. They might be stuck in a 9-to-5 job, or if they're, lucky to be in a 9-to-5 job and there's no other way out. But if this person is really gifted at something, and they really, should be valued for their gifts, that's where I really hope I can create somewhere where someone can share their talents with the world, make a living off of it, while enjoy doing it as well.
Wow, Bobby, that is really beautiful, and thank you for sharing. So today, my last question for you is, speaking of people who may be in the trenches, thinking about whether it's entrepreneur or inspiring entrepreneurs right now, kind of really wanted to follow someone like yourself and really, break into that startup scenes. What advice, what insight you would share with her or him who really right now still have so many no's and have not yet got the yeses?
Yeah. So there's two layers. So one is, I think, people who just want to join the startup scene. What I recommend is, really meeting the founders, the team, because I think there are plenty of roles in the startup scene. If you go on Angel List, you can find a job at a startup, or a job post, but finding the right one is really important, and it's something that comes through trial and error. I think doing proper vetting of the company, the product you're working on, the technology. If there is technology, I think in the startup scene, what I've seen is there's a lot of companies that are slideware as well, which means there's no tech, but it's just like a good story. and so I recommend someone who's coming from traditional background and want to jump in the startup scene to do proper due diligence, because that's time you're not going to get back. If you're spending 3 to 6 to 12 months at a minimum, sometimes at these places, fully spend some extra time vetting things out before you join. And then the second part about just diving cold in the startup scene would be, I think, having that comfort zone of knowing, hey, if I were to invest 6 to 12 months of my life into this, do I have the financial stability to do so? It is a very risky gamble, right? And for a lot of people, this might not be the right time or place in their life to do so. And for some people, it might be the perfect time. So doing that evaluation, and then going into it thinking, if I were to pitch my product, gut checking that with, is there an actual need in the market for whatever it is I'm trying to build, or whatever it is I'm doing? So it's really focusing on, is there a customer out there that actually find what I'm doing valuable? So simply just saying, hey, I'm going to create my own startup that's going to, make these widgets. I think that's not enough to want to jump in the startup scene. Doing some validation of seeing, hey, are there people who actually benefit from using this? You might be someone who creates Excel macros and you're selling those. That might actually create more or have more demand than someone who's just creating widgets for the sake of creating widgets, right? If someone wants to be a clothes designer, really testing that out on something that is low risk, like let's say Etsy or some other marketplace to establish your brand, so you can test what works and doesn't work, might be the low risk option versus just jumping straight cold into it. I would recommend going remote if possible and not worrying about renting an office. I think one trap in startup space is people get bunch of VC money and then they think, okay, let's just spend. Let's just get fancy chairs and offices. I think I think my time at Amazon really put this mindset of frugality in my head. So I'll get promo codes on even to save like $5 on a SaaS platform because in my mind, okay, that's $5 that we can invest in some other thing that we really need to. And at the end of the day, when you're trying to raise another round, if you have a much cleaner book of financials, in terms of just your cash outflows, that's going to make a much stronger, compelling investable option versus startups that's spending 20 grand on a WeWork or something. If someone's not funded, taking the low risk options, looking for the two-way doors, in terms of how they invest their money, or they get locked into no long-term lease agreements or anything like that. And then if you do get money in the bank, then investing that wisely. People aren't just giving you money to play with. I mean, you can pay yourself a salary, but if you're just paying yourself a low salary for the sake of wasting your own time, when you look back, at your life when you're 80 years old, do you wish you could have just done something else with your time? I think this comes down to yes, you can get paid. Yes, you can pursue your side project, but is it actually a good, worthwhile investment for your time? I think that also comes into play as well. And that goes beyond, a money topic at the end of the day.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Bobby. That's such a wonderful insight. And I love that. I feel like every decision you are making, you're always thinking about that 80 years old Bobby, what he will say. And I love that just you're so grounded, so true to who you really are and your value, and really want to make sure every decision you make are in the right alignment. And that really come across with your passion, with every single product you're part of. And I'm just so excited. And really, thank you so much, Bobby, to today, taking your time and sharing insight with all of us. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. We so appreciate you. And I hope you enjoy the show. We cannot wait to see you guys next week. Bye, guys.